The story you're about to hear isn't just about cars, engines, or recalls. It's about trust, betrayal, and how one of America's biggest automakers turned reliability into a gamble that cost families money, safety, and peace of mind. So buckle up, because once you hear the truth, you'll never look at GM the same way again. It all started quietly. Mechanics began noticing strange patterns. Online forums filled with frustrated owners swapping stories that all sounded too familiar. Brand new trucks with fewer than 20,000 miles suddenly shutting down on the highway. No warning lights, no gradual signs of trouble, just instant catastrophic failure. Imagine buying a $65,000 truck and then watching it turn into a 3-ton paperweight in the middle of traffic. At first, these cases looked like bad luck, but as more stories piled up, it was clear something bigger was going on. Behind the scenes, GM already knew. Internal documents show their executives had been tracking engine problems for years. They knew lifters were failing. They knew oil wasn't flowing properly. They knew bearings were wearing out long before they should. And yet, instead of warning customers, they stayed quiet. Why? Because speaking up would mean massive recalls, massive costs, and massive damage to their bottom line. So they made a cold calculation: stay silent, keep selling, and deal with the fallout later. And that silence led to engines that were basically ticking time bombs. These V8 engines were designed with fuel-saving features like cylinder deactivation and ultra-thin synthetic oil. On paper, it looked great. Better mileage, better efficiency. But in the real world, where people tow trailers, haul loads, or just sit in traffic, those design shortcuts added up to disaster. The oil thinned out when it got hot, bearings wore down, and engines that should have lasted hundreds of thousands of miles were failing in just a few years. Engineers inside GM raised red flags. They warned that under heavy use, oil temperatures spiked beyond safe limits. They knew these engines weren't built to last. But production didn't stop. Trucks kept rolling off the line, marketed as strong and reliable. Now, if you're wondering how GM responded when people started reporting these failures, here's where things get even uglier. Their strategy wasn't to fix the problem, it was to deny it. Dealers were trained to blame owners for poor maintenance, missed oil changes, or abnormal driving. Warranty claims were delayed with endless paperwork. Customers were told their issues were isolated, and if you didn't have every single maintenance receipt lined up perfectly, claim denied. The goal wasn't to help, it was to wear you down until you gave up. But eventually, the pressure became too big to ignore. Lawsuits started piling up. Angry customers flooded the internet with their stories. GM had to act, and when they finally announced a fix, it looked good on the surface. Free inspections, updated oil specs, a promise to make things right. But here's the twist. Their fix wasn't a real fix at all. Instead of redesigning or replacing faulty parts, they simply told owners to switch to thicker oil. Sounds simple, right? But that change came with hidden costs. Thicker oil reduced fuel economy by 10 to 15%. For families, that meant spending an extra $100 or more at the pump every month. Over 5 years, that's thousands of dollars gone. And when it came time to sell, used car buyers avoided these trucks like the plague. Values dropped overnight, leaving owners stuck with vehicles worth far less than they paid. In other words, GM's fix saved their balance sheet, but left customers holding the bag. And here's where the timing becomes important. That thicker oil also bought GM something priceless: time. Engines now lasted just long enough to get past the warranty window. Once failures happened after 60,000 miles, guess who was stuck with a $15,000 repair bill? Not GM, the customer. Think about that. A system meant to protect you, your warranty, was twisted into a shield for the company. Owners who thought they were safe were left scrambling to cover costs that could wipe out savings or college funds. Families across the country were blindsided. Of course, this didn't stay hidden forever. Class action lawsuits exploded. Lawyers dug up internal emails proving GM executives had been warned years earlier. Regulators stepped in, investigations opened, and the truth spilled out. GM's carefully crafted image of reliability cracked wide open. Eventually, the company agreed to a staggering $888 million settlement, one of the largest in auto industry history. But even that might just be the tip of the iceberg. Analysts estimate total costs could exceed $2 billion once all the lawsuits and penalties are tallied up. While GM scrambled in court, their competitors wasted no time. Ford, Ram, and Toyota rolled out ads highlighting their own reliability. Fleet customers who once relied on GM trucks started shopping elsewhere. Dealerships had to slash prices to move stock, wiping out their profits. And in the used market? Forget it. Trucks tied to the scandal lost resale value faster than anyone expected. For GM, the damage wasn't just financial, it was reputational. Decades of brand loyalty and engineering pride evaporated almost overnight. The fallout didn't stop with customers and dealers. Lawmakers dragged GM executives in front of Congress. Senators accused them of hiding safety issues to protect profits. Regulators toughened rules on defect reporting and recalls. International agencies joined in, pushing for stronger oversight worldwide. Suddenly, the entire industry was put on notice. Hide defects, and you'll pay big. But maybe the most important change didn't come from Washington or the courtroom. It came from consumers. Ordinary drivers started sharing their stories online, comparing notes, and organizing in ways that companies couldn't silence. Social media turned into a watchdog. Car buyers became smarter, digging deeper into manufacturer histories before signing paperwork. People realized warranties aren't always enough, and they learned to calculate long-term ownership costs, not just monthly payments. In short, trust in automakers shifted from blind loyalty to earned accountability. Now let's talk money, because the financial toll has been brutal. Beyond the settlement and lawsuits, GM's stock price tanked, wiping out billions in value. Credit downgrades raised borrowing costs, making it harder to invest in new vehicles. Dealers struggled, some even closed, because customers didn't want to touch GM trucks. All of this because cutting corners seemed cheaper than doing things right the first time. So, what now? Can GM bounce back from this mess? The company says it's changing, revamping quality control, extending warranties, restructuring oversight. They're promising transparency and accountability. But promises are easy. Rebuilding trust with customers? That takes years, maybe generations. At the end of the day, this scandal isn't just about bad engines. It's about what happens when profits come before people, families stranded on highways, college savings wiped out by repair bills, trust shattered, and yes, a company paying billions for decisions that should never have been made in the first place. For you as a driver, the lesson is clear. Do your homework before buying. Don't just look at horsepower, towing capacity, or fancy features. Look at how a company treats its customers when things go wrong, because that, more than anything, shows you whether they deserve your trust. So, would you still buy a GM vehicle after everything you've heard? Or is your trust gone for good? Drop your thoughts below, because this story isn't just about GM. It's about all of us demanding better, safer, and more honest treatment from the companies we depend on.